Yo! What's up sa inyo mga kawanlab? Ako nga po pala si Jake Magdos at nandito na naman po kayo ngayon sa Jake Magdos TV. So eto pong video na ipapanood at ipapakita ko po sa inyo at gagawa natin ng samot-saring opinion at reaction ay eto lang naman po yung patungkol sa full interview nitong si Ma'am Imelda R.Marcos. Ano po, at eto pong interviewing ito ay ginanap po doon sa Honolulu, Hawaii. At dito po ay malalaman natin sa interviewing ito yung pagmamahal at nasa sa loob nitong damdamin nitong si Ma'am Imelda Marcos patungkol po sa ating mga kababayan. At dito ay maririnig din natin yung kagustuhang makabalik ng Pilipinas nitong si former President Ferdinand Marcos Sr. At dito ay makikita natin yung hinagpis ng isang asawa na gustong pagbigyan yung kahilingan ng kanyang asawa na makabalik po ng Pilipinas at maibangon muli ang naghihinagpis na bansang Pilipinas. Ano po? So ito, umpisahan na po natin nang makita po natin itong full interview nitong si Ma'am Imelda Marcos at ikinay-credit po natin ito dito kay Military Officer Memory. Ano po, at kanya po itong video ito at hindi po atin. At yung original link po ng video ito ay ilalagay ko na lamang po sa ating description sa baba. So ito, umpisahan na po natin at talagang nakakaiyak po ito sa totoo lang. So umpisahan na po natin.
And thank you. Thank you for talking to us this afternoon. There has been a lot of talk about the dangers of a Marcos return for the physical safety of your family, especially yourself, the significant political hindrances, and most especially the delicate health of President Marcos. Are you still planning to go home to the Philippines in spite of these?
Of course, that has been our obsession all these 3 years and a half, especially that of Ferdinand, whose last wish is to die in his home country. And that has been our obsession all our lives, our country. And what is one more risk? After all our lives, we offered our life to the country.
Fears have been expressed that upheavals might occur if and when you return to the Philippines because the country is still divided over the issue of your return. Do you think this will happen? Do you fear your enemies?
Well, you always fear your enemies, but I sincerely feel that the coming home of Ferdinand and the Marcos family will appease a lot of people, especially the other half, as you would call it, that feel that they have been aggrieved and it has made the country so divided. I think this will be the beginning of peace and reconciliation amongst the people, and we will be there to personally ensure that there will be true peace and reconciliation, and there will be a united front for the peace and order of our country.
Biruin nyo guys, sa kagustuhan makabalik ng mga Marcoses sa Pilipinas ay hindi na po nila iniisip yung kanilang kaligtasan. At dito po sa tanong ng nag-i-interview po sa kanila, kung talaga bang desidido na makabalik at makauwi ng Pilipinas etong mga Marcoses, dahil nga po ang ating bansa nung panahon ng Marcos at nung panahon ng Cory ay talaga pong nagkaroon ng divided, nagkahiwa-hiwalay. Dahil nga po sa kagustuhan na masakop nitong si Cory ang bansang Pilipinas at siya po ang mapapalit dito sa posisyon nitong si Ferdinand Marcos Sr. Ano po, at dito ay sinabi po ni Ma'am Imelda Marcos na ang pagbabalik nila sa Pilipinas, yun ang hudyat ng pagkakaisa. Ano po, at doon ay maipapaliwanag nitong si Ferdinand Marcos Sr. yung kanyang side. Ano po, ngunit dahil nga sa kasakiman nitong mga Aquino, nitong mga Dilawan, ay hindi na po pinabalik etong si Ferdinand Marcos Sr. Ano po, at ipagpatuloy pa natin.
In a recent media forum, current government officials indicated that foreign investments would decrease and the economy will be adversely affected once you return. Do you agree that this will happen?
What foreign investments? I hear a lot of foreign investments going around, but does the average Filipino really feel that their lives are better? It may show in just as it can show in many ways, like for instance the prices, the cost of food, the cost of living, peace and order. Peace and order is a very important thing for foreign investments, and as long as we do not have peace and order in the country, there will be no foreign investment. So it is important that we must have peace and reconciliation, and there must be unity in the country to bring about peace. That will be the most attractive thing for any foreign investor.
Some persons have indicated that the Marcos family is inclined to be politically vindictive. Could you comment on this?
Oh no. To be vindictive is a luxury nobody can afford, especially those in public life. And the Marcoses, I think, have enough option and solution for problems than to be vindictive. We do not believe in vindictiveness. We believe in justice.
In your last open letter to Mrs. Cory Aquino, you seem to finally have recognized her as the President of the Philippines, and you have indicated in some of your recent interviews that you will discourage the Marcos loyalists from destabilization activities. How would you influence these factors, and have you indeed accepted Mrs. Aquino as President?
Well, she is the de facto president, and that you must recognize this as she is recognized as the de facto president. And who am I to say that she is not the de facto president? But I sincerely feel that the Marcoses coming home will again help her and help everybody, help the country, help the Filipino people, help Mrs. Aquino, help everyone. I think this is the best for everyone.
Biruin nyo guys sa kabila ng nagawa ng mga Aquino sa mga Marcoses, yung pagbabalik pala nitong si Ferdinand Marcos Sr. ay mas makakatulong pa dapat dito sa mga Aquino. Ano po, dahil ang purpose ng pagbabalik muli sa Pilipinas nitong mga Marcoses ay ang tulungan po ang bansang Pilipinas at tulungan itong si Cory Aquino sa kanyang pamumuno. Ano po, nang sa ganon, kapag ka nasa Pilipinas na, itong si Ferdinand Marcos Sr. ay maituturo niya kay Cory Aquino yung kanyang mga nasimulan na dapat ay ipapatapos sana, ngunit hindi nga payagan itong mga Aquino na makabalik po ng Pilipinas, etong mga Marcoses. Ano po, at etong interviewing ito ay nga ngayon lang po ito na ipalabas. Sa totoo lang, ngayon ko lang din to nakita sa tagal kong nag-YouTube. Ano po, so ipagpatuloy pa natin at talagang mamaya nakakaiyak sa parting pagitna. Ano po, so ipagpatuloy pa natin.
On another topic, Senate President Salonga proposed that Marcos be allowed to return provided that he do a Chundu Juan. He meant that the president should publicly apologize and return a substantial amount of the wealth that he is being accused of having illegally accumulated during his stay in power. Would President Marcos be willing to do this?
First of all, I think it is a different thing altogether, because Chung Dong-wan of Korea did not want to go on trial. And so he was ready to pay something like $30 million, and so that he would be free from trial. But Ferdinand has been begging all along to be tried in the Philippines, where he is a citizen and where he belongs. So this is all we want. We are not wanting any compromise. We just want justice for a Filipino citizen to be tried in the country. And as for resources, what resources are they keep talking about? For the last 3.5 years, they have not pinpointed to any amount in any part of the government, in any bureau or department of government, that we have taken resources from the Philippine government. The president, on the contrary, had been most generous, not only of his life, his fortune, but his sacred honor of everything. And there's nothing that we will not do for the Filipino people. In fact, all my projects, especially the cultural center, the many projects for health, for instance, many of them were not from government funds, but much of this had been generously given and helped by the Marcoses and the Marcos Foundation and friends, of course.
There was another solution.
Totoo talaga yun Totoo talaga yung sinasabi nitong si Ma'am Imelda Marcos na yung ibang mga pondo na ginamit talaga sa pagpapagawa ng iba't ibang establishment. Itong si Ferdinand Marcos Sr. ay galing na po talaga sa mismong pera po nila at hindi na po talaga pera ng government. Sabi ko nga po sa inyo, napakaliit po ng pondo nitong si Ferdinand Marcos Sr. nung pong ito ay nanunungkulan. Compare po dito sa mga Aquino na umabot po ng trilyon. Ano po, I think ang pondo nitong si Ferdinand Marcos Sr. sa loob ng 20 years ay nasa 400 billion lamang po. Ano po, yun po yung pagkakaalam ko. At pakitama na lamang po ako kung ako po ay mali. At tama po itong sinasabi nitong si Ma'am Imelda Marcos na talagang yung ibang ginagamit na pera sa pagpapagawa ng establishment ay talaga pong pera yon ng mga Marcoses at pera yon ng Marcos Foundation. So ipagpatuloy pa po natin.
That was proposed by Senator Osmeña, and he called it the Napoleonic solution. And this would allow President Marcos to be returned only after a number of years after his death. What can you say about that?
Well, again, does Senator Osmeña want us to be colonized again? You must remember that we're going, I hope we don't have a colonial mentality. Has the United States taken over the Republic of the Philippines already? Why, remember, Napoleon lost in Waterloo to the Duke of Wellington, and he was being subjected to a foreign desire that he gets out of the mainland. Well, Napoleon was never brought out of France. He was in an island, but not out of the country. So this is, again, a different thing altogether, because I don't think we have gone back to being a colony. I thought we were an independent republic since 1946.
In spite of all the proposals and your appeals, Corazon Aquino has remained adamant in her decision not to allow Marcos's return under any circumstance, and yet you continue to try to secure permission to go back. What keeps your hopes alive that you will be able to return after all this continued rejection?
Of course, God, I am a believer, I am an optimist, and I believe in miracles. And also, I believe in the humanity of and the rationality of the Filipino people. I know that they will uphold the rights of every Filipino citizen, and especially for someone who had been one way or another being in their midst for more than 20 years. And also, I have not lost hope from that Mrs. Aquino being a wife and a mother and a woman, she having her own family. Sooner or later, the better part of her will come to fore, and I'm sure she will allow us to come home. After all, I understand more than 100 of the congressmen has already designated that they would want Ferdinand to go home and the family to go home. And I am sure that this congressman was not prompted, and who are duly represented by the people, was not prompted by themselves alone, but as representatives of their people, they must have the voice of their people. And we know that vox populi, vox Dei, the voice of the people is the voice of God.
People close to the Aquino administration fear that Marcos might duplicate what Ninoy accomplished, that is, to create a political and social upheaval among the population, which would ultimately topple the government. Do you think this would happen?
I don't think so. The first time things like those happen can be an accident. The second time is stupidity, and the Filipino people are not stupid, and we are not not going to take such an option. On the contrary, I think it was kind of a freak accident, but it can happen, but I don't think it will happen again, and we should not allow it to happen again, ever again, because the destiny of the country should not be dictated by accidents.
Biruin nyo guys kung gaano kabait ng mga Marcos. Ano po, sa kabila ng ginawa nitong matinding ginawa nitong si Cory Aquino, talaga pong ang pinagbasihan na lamang nila at talagang nasasandalan nitong mga Marcoses yun po talagang sambayan ng Pilipino. Gaya nga po ng sabi nitong si Ma'am Imelda R.Marcos na yung boses po ng sambayan ng Pilipino ay parang boses po ng Panginoon. Ano po, at sinabi pa dito ni Ma'am Imelda R.Marcos na talagang na talagang yung isang kanilang sinasandalan na lamang at pinaka-inaasahan ay yun pong himala. Ano po, miracle. Yun po yung pagkakasabi nitong si Ma'am Imelda R.Marcos na makabalik sila sa Pilipinas. At nangyari naman po, at hindi lang po basta sila nakabalik sa Pilipinas, kung hindi ngayon, nanalo po itong si Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. Ano po, eto nangyari na yung sinasabi nitong si Ma'am Imelda R.Marcos na talagang ang hinihintay na lamang nila ay yung boses po ng sambayan ng Pilipino dahil para sa kanila, yun yung boses ng Panginoon at ngayon ay nangyari na po. Ano po, sabi ko nga, sambayan ng Pilipino yung nagpaalis sa mga Marcoses dahil sa nalinlang ito ng mga dilawan, pero sambayan ng Pilipino din po ang magbabalik sa kanila at nagbalik sa kanila sa Malacanang. Ano po? So ipagpatuloy pa natin.
Or gimmicks.
How would you compare Philippine media before and after People Power Revolution with regard to their way of influencing the truth and helping the government to disseminate policies and propaganda? Are they better now or worse now than before?
One thing about during the Marcos rule was that there was no, even during the time of martial law, there was no sense of fear. And there is a state of fear right now. Even I know that several radio commentators, like I understand Obligar has been taken out of the station about 8-9 times, or many others. I prefer not to mention, of course, any persons. But first of all, I would like to say that the media today, from what I hear, is in a state of fear. And as Ferdinand would always say, never make a decision when you're too happy or too sad. And I hear that many has been taken out from the stations or from the papers when they did not follow a party line. But I fear that at least during the Marcos period, there was freedom in the press.
It has been said that the Marcos administration had always been a good ally of the United States for so many years, and yet in recent events, the U.S. contributed significantly to your misfortunes. Do you still have confidence in the United States and their integrity? What makes them drag their feet on your appeal to allow you to return to your own country now?
Well, I suppose drag their feet. Who else but Mrs. Aquino? As I've said earlier, she is the de facto president, and but at the same time, the president and I and the entire family still believe in what this country stands for: freedom, justice, democracy, and we sincerely feel that there may have been some bad guys in some of the bureaucracy or departments in government. But America does not have a monopoly of bad guys, and I can never be against the United States because I have become what I am, and the same thing with the president, and I believe our children will have their basic right to fulfillment, peace, and happiness, or whatever, because of this spirit of what America stands for. So I have much to thank for this great country, but at the same time, there are some bureaucrats who are part of the system that has surely not helped America, the free world, and the Philippines, and the Marcos especially, any.
Have you ever considered Hawaii as a home at any point of your stay here during the past 3 years, or do you indeed continue to feel like a prisoner of the United States here?
Hawaii, for me, is a beautiful island, very much like our own country, the Philippines, but this is not home.
Oh, ito, napakaganda ng tanong sa kanya. Kung talaga bang nagugustuhan ni Ma'am Imelda Marcos na manirahan dito sa Hawaii or parang nakukulong lang. So ang sagot dito nitong si Ma'am Imelda Marcos, napakaganda ng Hawaii pero hindi yon yung kanilang tirahan. Ano po? So ipagpatuloy pa natin.
I feel like one who has been uprooted from one's country, somebody that has even been left without the strength to survive, the freedom, the justice to live, and to be uprooted is just a beginning of death for any human being. And for someone who has been so involved and so emotional about my country, especially the privileges that I had been given to be able to serve the Filipino people for more than 2 decades. It is a painful feeling to be like a tree that cannot bear flowers to make the place more pleasant, or bear fruit to feed your people, nor give the shed of that tree to your beloved ones. And at the same time knowing that they are waiting for you to help them, for somebody to take care of them, to serve them, to wait on them, to love them, especially if natural disasters do come in. It pains me, it frustrates me no end not to be able to do something para bang mga anak mo na nalulunod, drowning in the ocean, at hindi mo man lang mabigyan ang kamay mo, iabot ang kamay mo upang tulungan. Yan ang aking nararamdaman ngayon. Para bang napakalayo. Sana ang haba ng kamay ko na iabot upang tulungan yung mga nalulunod, nahihirapan. At ang nais lamang ay mabuhay kamukha namin sa piling ng kanilang inang bayan.
Madam Marcos,
Biruin nyo guys kung gaano kabait ang mga Marcos. Eto guys, tingnan nyo mabuti. Sinabi mismo nitong si Ma'am Imelda Marcos, para siyang isang ina na nakikita yung kanyang mga anak na nalulunod. Na hindi niya masagip, hindi niya mahawakan yung kamay. So eto pong sinasabi nitong si Ma'am Imelda Marcos, masakit sa kanyang nakikita niya yung sambayan ng Pilipino na talaga pong lumulugmok sa kahirapan, na hindi man lang po niya malapitan at maabutan ng tulong. So dito kitang-kita natin kung sino po talaga yung may malasakit sa bayan. Yung sinasabi ninyong ina ng magnanakaw. Guys, tingnan yung mabuti. Ito yung interview po na hindi po nailabas at hindi na ipakita sa sambayan ng Pilipino, kaya po naging masama ang tingin ninyo sa mga Marcos. So tingnan nyo mabuti kung gaano kamahal ni Ma'am Imelda Marcos at ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Sr. ang bansang Pilipinas at ang mga nakatira dito. Tingnan nyong mabuti. Halos mga yak-ngiyak na dahil sa awa sa sambayan ng Pilipino. So ipagpatuloy pa natin.
Mrs. Marcos, the Philippine Consul General here in Hawaii, Tomas Badi Gomez, has called you vicious liars and accused you of exaggerating the real condition of President Marcos in order to gain political leverage in your bid to return to the Philippines just to escape U.S. justice. Why do you think he is so violently opposed to your return?
Unang-una, poor Body is only the mouthpiece of the government in the Philippines, and he has to earn for a living. And as for exaggerations and lies, I think the 7 months of Ferdinand in the ICU and the many operations and the many testimonies of the doctors and everybody in the hospital, I think do know how gravely ill Ferdinand. We do not have to exaggerate. The truth is grave enough, is serious enough. We do not have to exaggerate nor tell lies.
How is your family, your children and your grandchildren taking all of this? By the way, how are they? And do you long for the time that you can all be together at least once in a while?
That's my prayer that one day our family will be one, united and together in peace in our beloved country. And I look at the children. They have gone through so much. They've been so deprived. When they were in the Philippines, they were also most deprived. People looked at them like they were enjoying a lot of privileges, and yet the children were really deprived of their parents who were in service for the country. But the children came out learning lessons from it, that it's not only service in life, it's not only service for one's family, but service for the country. And they have taken this in this light, and now I am of greater admiration and respect for my children, who has come out of this with flying colors. I draw now strength, inspiration, not only from Ferdinand's strength of spirit in his sick bed, but especially from my children, who has been so admirable, so strong, and so loving and inspiring to both of us. I have never thought that my children were this wonderful and this beautiful. In fact, it is now my children who is taking care of the president and me. And to them, I wish I had given more time, but it seems that the Lord has taken care of that, and I have wonderful children, and I am so proud of all of them.
I have to ask you two very difficult questions, and I hope you don't mind answering them. The first difficult question is,
Eto, sasagutin na ni Ma'am Imelda Marcos yung mahihirap na tanong sa kanya nung nag-i-interview po sa kanya. Ano po? At tama din po yung sinabi ni Ma'am Imelda Marcos na napakaganda naman po talaga. Kahit ako po, nakikita ko po yung pagpapalaki nitong si Ma'am Imelda Marcos sa kanyang mga anak ay talaga pong napakaganda at napakagagalang po. At unang-una, hindi po nasagot sa mga isyo. Ano po, kitang-kita po natin yan kung gaano mapagmahal ang mga anak nitong si Ma'am Imelda. Ano po, nitong si Ma'am First Lady Imelda Marcos. So ipagpatuloy pa natin.
the doctors at St. Francis Medical have pronounced that the condition of President Marcos remains critical and that the prognosis for his recovery is poor. In the event that the inevitable happens, God forbid, and the Philippine government allows you and your family to return to the Philippines, but with the strict condition that you leave the country immediately after his burial, would you comply?
I will obey, or I will accept any condition provided they give Ferdinand his last wish to live and die in his motherland.
The second difficult question, because of the time being inappropriate, is do you have any political ambitions for yourself? What if the political opposition in the Philippines urges you to run in 1992? What would your reply be?
Once again, Ferdinand has long taught all of us, the members of his family, that to be in public life is a matter of destiny, that is not for one to decide. You can only decide whether you will serve or not. And in my case, I would really love to serve in a private capacity. That way I have more freedom and I will have more credibility. But my priority obsession, and my obsession right now, is really to get my family together in the Philippines. This is my obsession. We have never been, there was never a need for any of the Marcoses to serve the Filipino people and the country. We are we're always ready to offer our lives. We were taught by Ferdinand not only to give our lives, our fortune, but our sacred honor for the survival of our country. In fact, Ferdinand warned us that when he proclaimed martial law. He told his family, now that I am to proclaim martial law for the survival of the Republic of the Philippines. Remember, my family, he said to his family, that with this, we may have not only to offer life, fortune, but our sacred honor.
So guys, habang nagsasalita itong si Ma'am Imelda Marcos, ay may nakita po ako sa kanyang katangian at yun po ay ang sobrang mapagmahal po sa kanyang asawa. Dahil talagang gustong-gusto po nila na may bigay yung kagustuhan nitong si former President Ferdinand Marcos Sr. na sa bansang Pilipinas po bawian ng buhay at dito po mailibing sa ating bansa. Ano po, at ang isa ko pa pong nakita dito ay yung sinabi niya po mismo na kahit wala siya sa posisyon, mas gusto niyang tumulong na siya po ay private citizen. Nang sa ganun, malaya siyang nakakatulong. So kitang-kita ninyo, yung tao na talagang hindi naghahangad sa posisyon. Ano po, dahil tinanong sa kanya kung siya ay babalik ng Pilipinas at tatakbo siya sa posisyon, anong posisyon yung tatakbuhan niya, at sinagot naman po niya ng maayos yun. Mas gusto niyang tumulong sa sambayan ng Pilipino ng nakapribado. Ano po, private citizen. Ano po, kitang-kita po natin kung gaano kabuti etong mga Marcoses. Gusto nilang tumulong sa sambayan ng Pilipino nang sila'y simpleng mamamayan lamang. 'Di ba? Ganong kabuti ang mga Marcos. So ipagpatuloy pa natin.
To serve the Filipino people is always a privilege. And besides, we have been so privileged already. So, kung kami man ay maglilingkod sa aming bayan, ay bilang utang na loob at pasasalamat na lamang. Hindi na kami
Pakinig nyo yon, kung sila ay maglilingkod sa bansang Pilipinas, yun ay utang na loob na lamang po at pasasalamat. At para sa kanila, yung paglilingkod sa bansang Pilipinas ay isa pong privilege, isang malaking karangalan. 'Di ba? Ganong katindi. So ngayon sana kapag napanood nyo ito ay magbago ang tingin ninyo sa mga Marcos. Yung mga dilawang pinklawan dyan na tumatawag na magnanakaw ang mga Marcos, sana makita ninyo ito. Para nang sa ganun magbago yung pagtingin ninyo sa mga Marcos. At talagang sinabi din dito ni Ma'am Imelda Marcos na kaya ipinatupad ng kanyang asawa yung martial law ay para maisalba ang bansang Pilipinas. Dahil nga po sa nagkalat na ang mga NPA, ang mga taong labas na nanggugulo sa Pilipinas. So ipagpatuloy pa natin.
Kailangan manungkulan pa. Ang pinakamasarap sa isang buhay ng tao ay makapagbigay, makapagmahal, lalo na sa inang bayan.
Would you like to address yourself and give any special messages to the people in government in the Philippines, as well as to the Filipino people in general, with regards to the state of health of President Marcos, as well as your desire to return to the Philippines?
Binabati ko ang mga ina, mga kababaihan, sa mga araw na ito, lalong-lalo na yung ating inang bayan ay nanganganib. Sapagkat napakasakit ng isang ina na papalayo sa kanyang mga anak, sa kanyang mga mahal sa buhay. Napakasakit sa isang babae na makita ang kanyang mahal sa buhay, kakabiyak, ay may sakit, malubha, at ang hinihiling lamang ay kita man lang ang kanyang inang bayan bago siya mapatingran ng buhay. At itong pangyayari kay Imelda ay aking ipinagdadasal na sana dito na lamang ito, na hindi na mangyari sa kanino mang ina, hindi na mangyari sa kanino mang mamamayan ng ating bansa na dumanas ng ganitong hirap, ganitong pagdurusa, na isang hapding hindi mo malamang kung saan nandun ang sakit. Sa paningin mo, masakit tingnan na hindi pala iyong mahal na bayan. Kahit na ang mga nadidinig mong mga kanta, hindi kanta ng iyong sariling lahi. At saan ka man tumingin, hindi mo makita yung iyong mga kapatid, kapwa, mga kababayan. At ang pinakamahirap ay maranasan na ikaw ay manirahan sa isang lupang banyaga, hindi mo makamtan ang buhay, survival, sapagkat hindi ka binigyan ng kalayaan, hindi ka binigyan ng katarungan. At sa katapusan, it is a matter of dignity. Human dignity. Lalo na ang mahirap, ubarang ka man ang lahat.
Biruin nyo kung gaano katindi ang pinagdaanan ng mga Marcos. Ano po, nanirahan sa lupain ng mga banyaga, hindi binigyan ng kalayaan. At sa huli nga naman, siniraan pa. Ganyang katitindi ang ginawa ng mga Aquino, ng mga dilawan na yan. Dito sa pamilya Marcos. Kitang-kita po natin. Tingnan nyo ito, panoorin nyo itong bidyong ito. Sobrang sakit, makita nga naman na may isang asawa na talagang nakikita yung kanyang asawa na mawawala na sa kanyang tabi, na mayroong kahilingan na hindi niya maibigay. Ano po, dahil sa kagagawa ng mga dilawan na yan. Ganyan sila katitindi, guys. Talagang nakakainit ng ulo, na nakakainis, na nakakaiyak. Ano po itong nangyari sa pamilya Marcos. So ipagpatuloy pa natin.
Pero man lang maiwan sa iyo ang iyong dangal, your dignity. Kaya, nung ako'y nandoon sa Nueva York, at doon ako inabla sa harap ng tao, malamig ang panahon, ako'y sumuot ng ating suot, ang ating national dress, ang terno, upang ipakita sa buong madla na ako'y Pilipino, taas noo kahit kanino. At ako'y walang kasalanan, kung meron man ako kasalanan, sa aking kapwa, sapagkat ibinigay ko lahat ang nasa aking isipan sa aking mga gawain, at binigay ko lahat ang nasa aking damdamin sa aking bayan at sa aking kapwa. Yun ang aking kasalanan, ibinigay kong lahat. Pero kung yun ang kasalanan, Diyos ang may alam. Ginawa ko yun sapagkat mahal ko ang aking kapwa at ang bayan kong, ang aking inang bayan, ang Republika ng Pilipinas. Kaya, mga ina, hinihiling ko sa inyong lahat, tayong magkaisa-isa at magkabuklod-buklod, na hindi na ito mangyari ni kanino man, sa kanino man. Let this never happen to anyone, to any Filipino, to a mother, to a wife, to a citizen, to lose their freedom, to lose justice, and
Eto talaga guys yung mahirap. Yung tutulong ka. Ano po, tapos sa huli, ikaw pa yung mapapasama. Tama nga yung sinabi nitong si Ma'am Imelda Marcos, ang tanging kasalanan lamang niya ay yung tumulong siya. Ano po, sa kanyang kapwa. At dahil nga sa pagtulong na yon, ganito pa ang isinukli sa kanila, ang ibinigay sa kanila. Ano po, ganyan katindi guys, ang ginawa ng mga dilawan na yan dito sa pamilya Marcos. At biruin nyo, kahit nararanasan nila yung matinding hirap na ipinaranas sa kanila nitong mga dilawan na ito, ay ipinapanalangin pa rin nitong si Ma'am Imelda Marcos na hindi po mangyari sa kahit na sino mang nanay na magkaganon po. Katulad ng sitwasyon na kanilang pinagdadaanan nung panahon na yon. Biruin nyo kung gaano kabait itong si Ma'am Imelda Marcos at saka itong mga Marcoses. So ipagpatuloy pa natin. Nakakaiyak guys, sa totoo lang. Talagang grabe. Kitang-kita ninyo sa mata ng tao kung sino yung nagsasabi ng hindi totoo at nagsasabi ng katotohanan. At pagmasdan nyo po ang mata ni Ma'am Imelda Marcos at kitang-kita ninyo yung talagang pagmamahal niya sa sambayan ng Pilipino at yung problema at pahirap na pinagdadaanan nila. So ipagpatuloy pa natin.
The human rights to all of this that will bring peace, fulfillment, and happiness to everyone. Kaya manindigan tayo. Manindigan tayo, magkaisa-isa tayo, magkabuklod-buklod. Hindi sa paraan ng sandata. Hindi paraan ng sigawan o galitan. Magkaisa-isa tayo bilang isang lahi na merong cultural genesis na ang mga kababaihan ay dapat manindigan kung anong maganda sa gawain, sa isipan. At iparaan natin ito sa magandang paraan. Ibigay natin pagmamahal, magandang mga gawa. Ipakita natin sa sino man ang kalaban ng kung anong maigi at anong makadiyos, makabayan at makatao, ay manindigan tayo lahat. Tayo ngayon ay manindigan. At ipakita natin ang ating katungkulan, our role as women, to do what is right, beautifully, and to feel right by giving love, giving beauty, because in the end, it is beauty and love that will conquer all. Sapagkat ngayon, sa mga araw na ito, ay palakasan, arms race, super strength, super power. Kailangan ito ngayon ibalanse ng magandang paraan, magandang damdamin. Dito magwawagi ang lahat. Sapagkat alam natin na ang may kapal ay ang magwawagi at ang mahusay ay magtatagumpay. Sa inyong lahat, malayo man kami sa inyo, ngunit ang aming damdamin, ang aming isipan, at kami ay naririyan sa inyong tabi. Hindi kami napalayo, lalo ngang mas malapit kami sa inyo. Malayo tayo lamang sa mga sapagkat itong dagat na malaking Pasifiko ay nakakalayo sa atin. Ngunit lalo tayong nagkaisa sa damdamin at sa puso. At ako ay naniniwala na sa madaling panahon, kami babalik sa inyong piling. Ako'y naniniwala na nariyan kami at tayo'y muli ay pagtutulungan, pagmamahalan upang idakila muli ang ating lahi, ang sambayanang Pilipino. Kaya sa inyong lahat, parang ako'y galing din ako, taga-Leyte rin ako, parang gusto kong sabihin sa inyo, kamukha ng sinabi ni MacArthur, I shall return, pero yung aking, I will return. Mga kababayan, we will return, and we will be there to serve you and to love you very soon. Mabuhay kayong lahat. Mabuhay ang Republika ng Pilipinas.
Kita nyo guys kung gaano kamahal ng mga Marcoses ang Pilipinas, di ba? Kahit nasa malayo sila, inaalala pa nila yung mga nakatira sa Pilipinas. Ano po, na wag malungkot dahil mapapalapit pa ang mga Marcoses sa damdamin at puso ng sambayan ng Pilipino. Ano po, ngayon alam na natin, ito ay interview ito kay Ma'am Imelda Marcos sa Hawaii po mismo at ikinuwento niya lahat yung kanila pong naranasan at yung katotohanan. Kaya yung mga nagsasabi dyan na masamang tao, mga Marcoses, magnanakaw, ang mga Marcoses, ganito ganyan, human rights. Guys, tingnan yung mabuti. Yan ba yung magnanakaw? Yan ba yung masamang tao? Kita nyo kahit nandun sila sa Hawaii, inaalala po nila ang sambayan ng Pilipino. Ang Pilipinas na maibangong muli. Ganun po kabait ang mga Marcos. Kaya pahalagahan po natin at mahalin po natin ang ating Pangulo. Ano po? Ang ating susunod na Pangulo na si Ferdinand Marcos Jr. Dahil alam po natin na siya po ang makakapag-ayos ng Pilipinas sa tulong po nitong si Ma'am SARA Duterte. Ano po, ngayon pa lang, alam na natin yung katotohanan. Ano po, kitang-kita po natin, ito yung video na hindi po kailanman na ipalabas sa media. Ngayon lang po, sa tulong po nitong si a military officers memory. Ano po, sa kanya po galing itong bidyong ito. At ilalagay ko na lamang po yung link sa description sa baba. At sana po ay wag po nating kalimutan na suportahan din po ang kanyang YouTube channel. Ano po? So yun guys, nakita nyo naman kung gaano katindi ang pagmamahal ni Ma'am Imelda Marcos sa sambayan ng Pilipino at hindi po yun mababago. At ngayong alam na natin at napanood natin yung kanyang side ng mga panahon na yon. Ano po? So yan lang naman at maraming salamat po sa inyo sa walang sawang pagsuporta sa ating YouTube channel. Uulitin ko po, mahalin po natin ang ating susunod na Pangulo na si Ferdinand Marcos Jr. dahil alam po natin yung kanilang mga pinagdaan ng hirap. Ano po, dulot nitong mga dilawan na ito. So yun lang naman at maraming salamat muli sa inyong lahat at mag-iingat po kayo palagi. At kung ikaw ay bago pa lamang sa aking YouTube channel at may gusto kang sabihin at opinion at komento sa video na ito ay maaaring i-comment mo na lamang po sa ating comment section. At huwag nyo na rin pong kalimutang mag-like, share, and mag-subscribe. Hit nyo na rin po yung notification bell natin para lagi kayong updated sa panibago nating upload. Maraming salamat po at mag-iingat po kayo palagi. God bless po at thank you po.